to be an awesome, short, quick core video on how to strengthen your TVA, your deep core muscles, including the pelvic floor. So the first thing I want you guys to do is identify what muscle group we are trying to work. So I want you to find your hip points, walk it in an inch, and then down an inch, and place your fingers there. Go ahead and lay down on your back and do this little exercise with me. Okay, so we're going to identify that muscle by finding our hip points, walking it in an inch, and then down an inch, and kind of press your fingers into that area. It should be nice and soft there right now, okay? Then, like a Kegel exercise, so like you're trying to go to the bathroom and stop midstream, you're gonna squeeze the pelvic floor. You should have felt some activation happen underneath your fingertips, okay? That is your, the bottom of the TVA muscle, your pelvic floor and the TVA working together to squeeze and tighten, all right, right there. Then, if you're not quite sure, I want you to cough. And what should have happened is your TVA pops out, okay? So that's your TVA. So identify that muscle, all right? Find it there, little cough. Oh, great, there's my TVA. Now put your fingers there, okay? And I want you to squeeze the pelvic floor like that Kegel exercise. Don't do anything with your pelvis. So we're not anterior tilting. We aren't tucking the tailbone. We're in a nice neutral pelvis tilt here, okay? So in neutral, identify the TVA, squeeze the pelvic floor, and then without moving the pelvis, I want you to draw with that muscle your two hip points together, like you're trying to draw it together. Think about a corset, all right? Tightening in it, because that's what the TVA does. It supports our core like an hourglass figure, okay? Really cinching in the core to stabilize. So squeeze the pelvic floor, draw those two hip points together, draw your navel into the spine. Don't do anything with the pelvis rotation, just keep it in neutral and hold there for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, squeeze, 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 5, squeeze the pelvic floor, 4, 3, 2, 1, relax, let it go, okay? Now, again, we're gonna add on to this. What I want you to do in this next one is we're just gonna lift up one leg. So notice without the TVA, so make sure it's nice and loose, you just try and lift. Maybe you feel a little bit of activation, but what's probably happening is your psoas is lifting up the leg. So when we don't use the TVA properly, it can cause a lot of issues in the other muscles, because the other muscles will overcompensate and be overused for the weak TVA. So let's try this again. We're going to take the hip points, walk it in and down an inch, place the fingers in there. You can do a little cough if you're not sure, again, where it is, all right? Then neutral spine, all right? Draw up the pelvic floor, draw the two hip points together, squeeze and tighten the TVA like a corset, and then lift up one leg just about an inch off the ground. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bring it down, squeeze everything, lift the other leg. 1, 2, 3, 4. Squeeze the pelvic floor, and 5, and down, other side, lift it. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze everything. And remember to breathe, so we're not holding our breath here. And just try to let that foot not do too much work. Squeeze, 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 release, other side, lift it up. It's really hard, right, to isolate just the TVA. I really want to use my quad, use my psoas, and I want to even use my foot here, all right, but we have to try and really focus. This is more challenging in the brain than it is in the body. Lift up that right leg. We'll go for 5. Draw the two hip points together, navel to spine. 4, 3, 2, 1. Release, other side. 5. Draw the two hip points together. Squeeze the pelvic floor. 3, 2, 1. Release. Go ahead and grab that yoga block. Place it between the legs. All right. Now, again, neutral spine, all right, it's nice and soft. Find the TVA by squeezing the pelvic floor, drawing those 2 hip points together, drawing that navel into the spine. Squeeze now the block together with your legs, so we're squeezing, and we're gonna hold this for 10, 9, 8, 7, and you wanna breathe through this. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Don't let go. Squeeze and hold. Keep lifting all the way up. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Again, try to stay in a nice neutral pelvis. So I'm not arching, I'm not tucking. I'm really drawing my 2 hip points together, drawing that navel in. You should start to feel a little bit of fatigue here happening through the TVA. Really think about that corset squeezing in, all right? So you're drawing everything in. And then slowly, slowly come on down. Release the block, release everything. Feel and see if it is feeling a little bit tired, all right? If it is, good. We're gonna roll over onto our back, onto our all fours here in tabletop position. And from here, you guys, find again neutral pelvis. So this is a posterior tilt, this is an anterior tilt, and I just want you to find neutral here, okay? So finding that neutral spine, and then the same thing, we're gonna do it here, is squeeze the pelvic floor, draw those 2 hip points together, all right, and just hold here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now keep going a little bit further. So we're gonna keep drawing that navel up, nice and slow. Concentrate on this. Keep drawing that navel up, like you're trying to hollow out the belly. So sucking like a vacuum, the belly in. Squeeze the pelvic floor. Don't let go of that pelvic floor. Squeeze and lift it. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze more. Squeeze the pelvic floor even more. Lift, 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 lift. Right now you should start to be feeling some fatigue in that TVA. Okay, really in those deep core muscles. Squeeze the pelvic floor. Really, that's the activation here we want. Squeeze in. We don't want the rectus abdominis to take over here. We want it to just be TVA, so pull it in. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze pelvic floor. 5, 4, 3, squeeze more. 2, 1, release. So if you were doing it properly, you should feel slight fatigue on that. If you're like, I felt nothing, then you're probably activating different muscles, okay? So again, we want to identify the transverse abdominis. You can give a little cough. That muscle that when you cough pops out is the one that should be feeling fatigue, okay? So again, let's find neutral here. So not arching, not tucking, neutral. Lift the pelvic floor. Draw the navel into the spine. Hold. And then let's just take that left arm and lift. Try to stabilize. So this is what the TVA does. It's stabilizing. Okay, draw in, hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Don't move anything. Let's do the other side. Draw in that TVA. Lift the pelvic floor. Reach. 5, 4, 3, 2. Squeeze the pelvic floor. And 1. It's easy to really let go of that pelvic floor, okay? But it's important that we keep that engaged as well. Now, again, not moving anything, keeping that neutral spine, but drawing that navel in. Squeeze the pelvic floor. Take that left leg and extend it out. Hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Squeeze everything. Don't let go, guys. All right? Squeeze and lift up like a Kegel exercise. Draw the navel into the spine. Squeeze those 2 hip points together. Other side. Lift it. Squeeze everything in and up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. and bring it down. Everything squeezing, lifting, and then very, very slowly drawing that navel in. Try to make this all about the TVA. Try not to round the back. Okay, again, pull it in, like a vacuum, sucking that navel into your spine, then lift up the pelvic floor. Draw your 2 hip points together. Hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Take child's pose. Nice job. All right. Place the hands by the face. Come on up. Let's roll back over. Doing good, you guys. You should start to feel a little bit of fatigue in that TVA by now. If not, you guys squeeze harder. I'm just playing with you. All right, but yes, squeeze harder for sure. Okay, now this is really a simple exercise, but if you're doing it properly, it's going to really activate. Now, this isn't the same kind of burn, you guys, that you would get when you're doing a bunch of sit-ups and you feel it in your six-pack, okay? This is kind of a really deep internal activation, so the burn is going to be different. Sometimes people feel like they didn't really get much out of it, but trust me, if you're feeling that fatigue and that deep TVA muscle, you're doing it properly. It's not going to burn the same as when you're working your rectus abdominis muscle, that six-pack muscle, okay? So what I want you to do is grab that block again, place it between the legs, okay? Identify your TVA, dig your fingers in. Neutral pelvis, so try not to arch if you naturally are an archer, all right? Come into neutral. If you're naturally posterior tilted, tailbone tucking under, I want you to come into neutral here, okay? Neutral spine, find the TVA, squeeze the pelvic floor, draw those 2 hip points together, suck the navel into the spine, okay? So it's activated. And then what I want you to do is just lift the head up, squeeze, don't do anything with the pelvis, and down. Inhale, exhale, and down. If this is too much for the neck, you can always place the hands here, but remember to keep that TVA activated. Come up, squeeze those 2 hip points together, and down. And again, lift the pelvic floor, exhale, come on up, and down. I notice that when my hands are not here, I tend to rely more on the rectus abdominis. So this really helps me activate my TVA. It's just by physically making sure that I'm telling my body to draw these 2 hip points together, to squeeze my corset. And down. Okay, again, you can always do this with even one hand here. And down. Lift it up, squeeze, and down. Exhaling on the way up. Inhale here. Exhale. Inhale. Okay, don't let go on the way down. Squeeze pelvic floor, lift up and down. It's harder when you come down, you guys, to really keep that TVA activated. And down, we'll do one more. Lift it up, squeeze. And down. Good. So hopefully you're squeezing your block, squeezing pelvic floor, and squeezing into the TVA. Again, placing those hands on your TVA. I want you to take that right foot. You're going to squeeze everything, squeeze the pelvic floor. Take that right foot and like a scoop, bring it out, and a scoop, bring it back down. Again, squeeze everything, lift it up, scoop, and then bring it in and down. Again, lift it up, scoop it out, bring it back in and down. Squeeze those 2 hip points together, guys. Squeeze that pelvic floor. Don't let it go. Bring it in and down. You might start to feel this through that rectus abdominis as well, okay? Because it is assisting here. But really think about squeezing those 2 hip points together. Squeezing and lifting up through the pelvic floor. And in. Other side. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. So I will tell you guys that it is more mentally challenging to do these really small movements, isolating the contraction of the deep abdominals, and then to just blow through a core routine using, just the rectus abdominis. So what you might be feeling is like mental fatigue, and it can really kind of wear on us and get us to just feel like, okay, I want to stop, right? It's not so hard necessarily, but mentally, where our brain is processing all these new connections, and it can tend to fatigue our mind. But I want you to stay focused, stay strong, draw those 2 hip points together, squeeze and lift that pelvic floor, and you can do it. Last one, lift, reach it out, and in, and down. Release everything. So that you probably also felt through the rectus abdominis, all right? But if you're doing it properly, you should have also felt it in those deep core muscles as well, okay, guys? So go ahead and straighten out your legs now. Now this is also probably going to be felt in the rectus abdominis, but again, we're going to try to identify the TVA. So let's just find that nice neutral pelvis. We're not arching, we're not tucking. We're here, neutral. And squeeze the pelvic floor. Give a little cough. Feel it, okay? So we're identifying. It's a little bit harder when the legs are straight to identify. What I want you to do now is to roll through your pelvic tilt. So now I'm going to allow you to kind of practice that pelvic tilt. So tailbone tucking under, squeezing your glutes. And then arch the back. Squeeze and lift the pelvic floor. Okay, so the whole time we're going to squeeze and lift the pelvic floor. Squeeze and lift the pelvic floor. And when you come here, now we're going to start to draw those 2 hip points together, drawing the navel into the spine. All right? Then lift it up. And draw in, squeeze. 2 hip points together. And lift it up. Again, squeeze, pelvic floor, hip points together. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. And release it into your anterior. So these are squeezing the muscles in your back now. Okay, and lift up here, squeeze 2 hip points together. Draw the navel into the spine as much as you can. Squeeze the glutes, squeeze the pelvic floor. And release. And squeeze, lift. Draw in. Navel in, squeeze, and arch the back, lift here, squeeze it in, 2 hip points together, hold here, squeeze 10, 9, 8, everything squeezing, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, how are we doing? 2, and 1, release. All right. Last and final exercise, you're going to grab the block and meet me over on the wall. All right, guys, grabbing the block, we're going to come onto the wall, bring the feet about hip width, step on out so that we sit back onto the wall like we're sitting in a chair. The lower you go, the more you are going to work your quads, okay? But what we're working on here is the transverse abdominis and the pelvic floor. So what I want you to do is, again, think about lifting and squeezing up through the pelvic floor like that Kegel exercise. Then drawing your 2 hip points together, drawing the navel in, okay? So squeeze everything. You should feel it obviously in the quads, but try to really think about feeling it through the TVA. Then go ahead and take the block and squeeze here. This is gonna really help activate that TVA. So we're gonna draw the ribs in, take the 2 hip points, pull them in like that corset I've been talking about, and then lift up through the pelvic floor like you're zipping everything up. Then take the block, hold it here. All right, so squeeze the pelvic floor, 2 hip points together, squeeze the block, and hold everything for 10, 9, 8, 7, can you guys tell I love this exercise? 5, 4, 3, 2, low back is on the wall, squeeze everything, hold it here, we're gonna lift it up, hold, squeeze everything in, low back stays on the wall, and back down. Okay, this is a lot of shoulders. You guys have tight shoulders, just go as far as you can. But again, drawing those 2 hip points together, squeezing and zipping up through the pelvic floor, squeeze the block, Low back is on the wall. You can do it. Squeeze everything. Kegel exercise. Here we go. We're going to go 10, 9, squeeze the block, 8, 7, 6. Don't forget about that pelvic floor. 5, 4, 3, squeeze, squeeze, 2, low back stays on the wall, release it, put it between the legs, squeeze, here we go. Almost done, we're gonna burn it out. Squeeze the block, squeeze the pelvic floor, corset in, low back, ribs, everything stays here. Hold, 10. You can place your hands on that TVA just to make sure you're activating squeeze. 8, 7, 6, 5, squeeze, squeeze. Pelvic floor, lift it up, lift it up. Woo, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. All right, let's stretch out, guys. So little quick cat stretch, and then reverse it to a cow. Take the tailbone up, retract your shoulder blades, and then chin to chest. Good. Release. Let's go ahead and come on down to the mat here. Come into Sphinx pose, placing those elbows underneath your shoulders here. And then drop the shoulders down, gaze forward. And then if you want more, you can come up a little bit higher. And you can kind of gaze over to one side and then the other side. That'll help stretch out both sides evenly. And then let's go ahead and release it. Come to a seated position. And we'll do a final stretch here. Cross the legs comfortably. Lift the chest. Inhale, take that right arm, reach it all the way over. Gaze underneath that armpit. And if you can come down and keep your hip bone down to the ground, great. Otherwise, just stay up onto the wrist. Gazing underneath that armpit. Other side, reach. Inhale, exhale, keep that hip point down. I'm definitely tighter on this side. And release. All right, you guys, that was your quick core video for today. Activating the deep core abdominals. Please leave me a comment and a review. Let me know if you like this class and if you want more like this. Remember, you can always share this with a friend and they can do the workout for free. There's a share button, so feel free to send this to any of your friends who really want to tighten their deep core muscles. Thanks, guys.